Hello, Anthony.
Hello, Claudine.
We've been talking a lot about FATCA, how we're helping the team in Washington to repeal FATCA. FATCA is a reporting requirement where if you have foreign income or assets, you have to report it to the IRS. So why should people who don't have foreign income or assets care about FATCA? And I think you've said it best here. This is a sum up of what we're going to be talking about. Everyone should be concerned about FATCA because it tosses aside the entire Constitution, it puts sensitive information at risk, and it creates a penalty minefield for U.S.-based businesses. So let's lead off with that huge loss of privacy.
Okay, so let's just take that Fourth Amendment, right to privacy. Let's just light that on fire. That's what we have just done with FATCA. FATCA has gone to say, you know what? This information might not be related to your taxable income. We want it anyway because
you only have to be suspected of being a U.S. person.
Right.
You don't actually have to be.
You have to be, and what the information is looking for it can have nothing to do with your taxable income. And this is one thing: if you have a checking account that doesn't earn interest, tell me about that 1099 that's going to be sent to the IRS. It isn't. So let's just say that you want to have something, if you want to have some banking privacy. Look, I'll just put it in a checking account so there's no income. That way I don't have to report it to the IRS. I don't have to tell anyone that this exists, and I'm not going to be breaking the law. Well, if that happens to be foreign because you might live overseas, it's not foreign to you. Oh, well, we need to know that information. Why? Why? It has nothing to do with your taxes. You're just snooping, digging. You want information because what? Tell me the legitimate reason you need something that has nothing to do with taxes.
Yep. And you already touched on reason number 2 why you should care. It is a complete breakdown of constitutional powers.
Yeah. So I mean, we've torched the Fourth Amendment. All right. Now let's go and torch some of the rest of the Constitution. A treaty is something a treaty power is something that's delegated to the Senate. It must be ratified to the Senate. Mm-hmm. Well, FATCA had a really great workaround, or I guess just complete destruction of the Constitution is another way to say workaround. Mm-hmm. Let's create a law that allows the executive branch to make their own treaties. So we don't need the treaty power anymore. You could just basically pass a law to say, you know what, the executive branch can pass all treaties that it wants now, and there it is. So we've lost that entire separation of powers that was integral to the whole Constitution. We said we can't have power consolidate in one area. Well, this is just giving a grant of power to the executive branch, completely undermining the Constitution. And no matter how much you feel about tax evasion, people are breaking the law because there's tax evasion. You should be far more outraged that the U.S. government is breaking the Constitution with FATCA.
And the worst of FATCA is yet to come.
Oh,
2 reasons why.
Yeah.
Reason 1?
People have no idea how bad it's going to be when it actually is implied. This should wake you up at night. If you're in business for yourself, this should absolutely wake you up at night. The first thing is this little thing called a foreign withholding agent. What is a foreign withholding agent? This is the best I could describe it. Most accurate I can describe it in less than an hour and a half. Certain businesses must withhold 30% of all payments due to certain foreign companies for certain types of payments. So there's 3 different contingencies there on when that 30% requirement to withhold taxes to that foreign payee. So this is where, I mean, you talk about a minefield. Again, those 3 different contingencies. And because if you're wrong, this is what happens. The IRS charges you 30%. And so usually when there's an audit, it's going to be for 3 years. Mm-hmm. So they're going to go back, and you've been doing this mistake for 3 years. That's going to wipe you out, especially if you're in a business that has a high cost of goods. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those types of payments that's one of those certain types of payments. Completely you wipe you out. Now, the thing is, this foreign entity might not actually owe any U.S. tax, but is subject to those holding requirements. And you don't owe any tax. But yet you were hit with a tax penalty that is completely wiping you out. Now, there is a way around this. You know, if you want to avoid this minefield, all it takes you to do is to hire specialized attorneys to create a payable system, to look at investigate who you're paying, what it is, and to create a policy and to make sure that you have checks and balances so that not one person ever gets this wrong. Otherwise, you're ruined. Now, I guess large corporations
could afford that.
Yeah, they have the economies of scale to have like 10 attorneys working full time and CPAs to make sure to do their FATCA compliance. You know, it's like, all right, yeah.
But a small business?
Yeah, our FATCA compliance department's $5 million a year to run, right? Right. So that's what they've done. So if you're a small, medium business, you should be freaking out, and you do any business overseas, you should be absolutely going nuts to say, this thing's got to go, because I can't understand it. I had my CPA look at it. He doesn't know, because it is really one of the greatest minefields. Crazy. It needs to go.
All right. Worst of FATCA is yet to come, part 2.
So the worst of FATCA yet to come, part 2. Oh, this one is the people excusing FATCA. Okay, it's this interesting phenomenon. The people excusing FATCA, they say this, well, they're not imposing that yet. They're not doing that part of FATCA yet. As that's the defense. Here's the worst of FATCA that has not been implemented, because they're like, well, we don't know if they're really going to do it. We don't know when they're going to do it. So really, don't worry about it.
The U.S. is a little fickle, so
right.
We're not sure.
Don't worry about this thing that it can completely ruin you, or and really do some damage to people. Here's one example that I could give. You know, if FATCA requires foreign banks to look through their records, do due diligence to see if you have any U.S. ties. If you have any U.S. ties, the bank has to now ask you if you're a U.S. person, or tell you, and then tell you, well, you have to let us know if we can report this to the IRS or not, because you're a U.S. person. Prove it or don't prove it. And a lot of people who've worked in the U.S. at some point, a lot of UK expats, this is a big issue, because a lot of UK expats worked in the U.S. at some time on an H-1B visa. Now they're working somewhere else. Their bank is looking, hey, you had a U.S. address, you're a U.S. person, and they have to go like, no, I'm not anymore. I'm no longer subject to it. And they've had bank accounts closed. You know, they're not even a U.S. person. So that's sort of how it works. It's like, well, you're suspected of being a U.S. person, so now we're going to ruin your life. So here it is, though. It's supposed to work the other way. All these foreign countries, all U.S. banks have to go through their records to find if there's people suspected of being persons of all other countries involved in the IGAs, involved in FATCA, all the other countries. So a bank that sees, oh, here's someone who's foreign born, maybe, okay, my wife was born in Hungary, so, okay, here's somebody in Hungary, so maybe we need to share the information with Hungary too. It's like, okay, great, but why do you need to do that? First of all, why do you need to do that? Because Hungary doesn't have a citizen-based taxation. So whatever she makes, she can get a Hungarian passport, but whatever she makes in the U.S. has nothing to do with them. So why do you guys just want to share all this information that really doesn't do anything for anybody? But you also can imagine, Hungary, it's pretty nice. They've been there, and, they've got some issues, but I would say it's overall pretty decent. And you have some countries where I'm not going to make that same claim. There's some countries, I won't go say who they are, but I think we all can imagine some countries that are maybe kind of dictatorships. Maybe there's a lot of subversion of popular dissent. Maybe there's government crackdowns. Maybe there's corruption. Maybe your life is actually at risk if they don't like you. Your life, that is absolutely true.
So then we're going to tell them exactly what you have and where to find you.
Yeah, so let's say I need to go to the U.S. to get away from these guys because they're going to kill me. And you might even bet somebody who helped out the U.S., right? Hey, thanks for helping us come to the U.S. Hey, thanks for helping us out coming to the U.S. Now we're going to give all your sensitive financial information, including your address, to this nasty government, which, by the way, doesn't even tax you on any of this income earned anyway, so it has no legitimate purpose for tax purposes. This is only so they can find out where you are. Oh, yeah, this is the address. Here it is. Is this insane or what? What are we doing here? For what? There's no tax compliance. Tax compliance, non-compliance hasn't even been alleged in all of these things. You just want information. You just want information because you're nuts. You're just nuts. You're crazy.
So let's wrap up the way we started. Everyone should be concerned about FATCA because it tosses aside the entire Constitution, puts sensitive information at risk, and creates a penalty minefield for U.S.-based businesses. You can like and comment below. If you have questions about FATCA, email us info@irsmedic.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you get more awesome tax updates. We want to thank you for watching.